Hello YouTube, welcome back to a brand new video. This is the America First Pill channel. We need to discuss Thomas Massie. So Thomas Massie had a major primary. There has been a pledge to primary him because there was a lot of Republicans that were really upset with Thomas Massie, and Trump endorsed the challenger, and he was successfully able to oust Massie by pretty big margin, and by at least 10 points. The challenger's name was Ed Gallerin in the Kentucky's 4th congressional district. And oh boy, I did side with Massie for a few reasons, because let's be honest, in reality, Kentucky didn't choose didn't choose Ed. Not on their own, not without lots of propaganda, because the challenger of Massie had millions and millions and millions of dollars by, I know the main donor was Miriam Edelson and a few other people, but particularly her, poured millions of dollars just to oust Massie. And obviously Trump endorsed the challenger as well. And, here's the thing. Why did this happen? And I know everyone wants to jump and say, oh, Trump, this just proves Trump is endorsed by Israel. Well, let's be honest. I do think Trump is bad when it comes to the Israel issue. But let's face it, Trump's always been very pro-Israel. So I feel like all the people who are pissed at Trump with this, you knew what you were voting for. However, was this the reason he primaried Thomas Massie? I don't think so. I think what got Massie primaried was because Massie has continuously voted against key legislation that stalled the agenda, particularly around the big beautiful bill with keep voting no, even voting against the tax cuts and border security. And I think, Massie made it clear the biggest thing he was against in that bill. Let's face it, that big beautiful bill was not a very good bill. Lots of spending, more, that would have raised the deficit. I know Ron Johnson ended up voting for it anyways, just he felt didn't have a choice, but Ron Johnson wasn't too thrilled about it either. It's, so obviously Massie cares a lot about the debt, the big spending, and he voted no. And obviously with the whole Epstein stuff, I think Trump saw Massie as a distraction and a hindrance, and so he was pushing for a primary challenger, and this guy came and did so. But as much as Trump endorsed and wanted a challenger, at the end of the day, it was these billionaires that were pouring a bunch of money, and the big reason was because Massie's against the war in Iran, the war machine. Everyone thinks it's this war, but Massie's always been pretty consistent on being more anti-war, kind of more libertarian leaning. They're very anti-war, and so Massie stuck to his principles, wanted to end aid to all foreign nations. It wasn't just Israel, but of course, doing that would infect Israel. So a lot of people who have dual citizenship in Israel, like Miriam Edelson, that has dual citizenship, is an Israeli that, basically funneled money to oust him, all because of that. And unfortunately, and what's another problem with this? Well, unfortunately, Trump is currently the leader of the GOP, of MAGA, and the voters, especially the older ones, they tend to follow Trump's lead. And and if you look at the exit polls here, likely voters, every age group except people 65 plus or older um, wanted Thomas Massie. It seems even Gen X voters in Kentucky leaned more towards Massie. And the baby boomers 65 plus or in silent generation, they went overwhelmingly for Massey's primary challenger. And so they decided to vote, and they were the ones that mostly showed up. And, the most highest propensity voters in America are educated voters and baby boomers. And, while it seems Massie had a huge more support, if boomers are the ones voting, it doesn't matter. They'll decide the election. So for all the people complaining, if you didn't vote, that's on you. You can probably blame the boomers for a lot of things, but it's not their fault that people just wanted to whine on X and not actually do the diligence to vote. So where were the young people in Kentucky? Did you guys vote? Apparently not enough of them voted. I don't know if this is just an unfavorable district because it's largely older. So, I can't really say, but either way, the boomers sided with Trump's challenger. And that's, I think it does tell you that the boomers are a lot more prone to the propaganda than young people, largely because they watch cable news mostly. And that's, older Republicans watch Fox News. And let's be honest, Fox News is not conservative, let alone even really unbiased. They're the war machine channel. So, and clearly, Massie clearly has a 91% voting record voting with Republicans. And you could say, well, why is it that low? That seems low, right? Well, obviously, Massie votes with Trump a lot. And, he voted against the big, beautiful for voter ID. He did. He did vote for, and he did vote for voter ID, despite what the lies said he did. He voted with, he also voted to secure the border. So, I don't know. So he was pretty on base of doing what he was supposed to do, and definitely if you care about fiscal conservatism, there's probably no one in Congress that's more fiscally conservative than probably him. I don't know. And it's like he's been treated like crap all because he voted against a couple key issues and he's being accused of voting with the Democrats. Now, I don't agree with Massie on a lot of things, but let's be quite frank, to say he voted with Democrats is ludicrous. If anything, Democrats just vote against Trump because they want to stick it to Trump. They want to stall his agenda. Massie would have voted the way he did, regardless if Democrats joined or not. So, who's actually principled, Massie or the Democrats? Well, Massie's always been relatively consistent, while Democrats just want to be against Trump. He's against, he clearly is big when it comes to, really big when it comes to fighting against, government overreach when it comes to invading Americans' privacy, like mass surveillance. He's really big when it seems he's kind of standing up to cronyism, like corporate welfare. This whole like government and business colluding together. If anything, that's what's hurting capitalism in America. That's what's making people hate capitalism, is that cronyist system. And he stood up against that. But because he opposed the war machine, he had to go. So, so what does this mean? Where do we go going forward? Well, you could say in the short term, we're not going to, you will have a guy that votes with Trump pretty much lockstep now. right? Okay. But let's be honest, going forward, I want people who actually stand for America first, not just voting with Trump. The problem is Trump's going to be gone. Trump, and let's face it, Trump has nothing to lose. He's a billionaire. He'll live fine. He doesn't have to worry about getting elected again, so I don't think he really cares right now anymore. And this is the reality when it comes to presidents in their second term. They oftentimes have a worse second term because they generally don't have to worry about getting elected again, and they generally care more about their legacy. So obviously Trump, Trump is big when it comes to loyalty, and he also saw Thomas Massie as disloyal. And Trump, everyone who goes against Trump tends to backfire. So, you know, and I think one thing I'm concerned with, and I don't even, I even think we can do better than Thomas Massie, someone who's not so rigid libertarian. We need a pragmatist, more populistic. He's kind of a populist libertarian, but I think the biggest problem I had with Massie too is I don't really remember him coming up with a better alternative to the bill than just voting against Trump. So Republicans just see him as an obstructionist and a rhino. I don't even think he's a rhino. I think that's an overused term we use when people we don't like. But with all this going against Massie, we should have done the same with Lindsey Graham. Is Trump going to primary Lindsey Graham and get a better challenger? Probably not, because he thinks, Graham is more useful because he votes 100% with Trump. And that's not all good always either. What if Trump does something wrong? And the problem is Trump offers no loyalty either. So that's my criticism with Trump. But this isn't good for the midterms. This is really, I think, all the people that supposedly supported Massie online was all because of his position on war in Israel, but it wasn't really authentic. It was bots as well. So it's this whole thing is all cancerous, what we're saying. And the reality is this could hurt us midterms in 2028. I saw a clip saying that Massie might be teasing a run for president, but he might run for third party. And that's not good, because let's face it, I don't think a third party can win, unfortunately. I think we've tried this for so long. And every time we tried it, it doesn't work. And plus, the two-party system won't allow a third option because they lose power if they do. But I think what's going to happen is Massie's going to go out with some vengeance. And I do think if he decides to run third party in 2028, you are looking at potentially him just wanting to stick it to the Republican Party. And in a way, it's rightfully so, because we did kind of treat him unfairly. All because of this conflict with Iran. We call him a rhino. We try to defame his character, accusing him of sleeping around with some people to do so, calling him a dem. It's like, I don't know, this type of stuff, and it does push people away from the GOP. And I don't think MAGA is cult at all. I don't think so. I think MAGA really wants America first, but it's the online toxic bots that don't give a crap about America that's destroying MAGA's influence right now, because this cult of an attitude they have. You have to be lockstep. And the goal of the influencers, their job is to spread propaganda, and their job, they get rich off pro-Trump no matter what. It's not about America at all. So for those who claim to be America first, are you pro-America first or are you pro-Trump first? Let's face it, Trump is going to be gone. He probably won't be alive by the end of the decade. He's getting older, people. We're going to have to someday move on from Trump. What upsets me is we're giving them so much ammunition right now, and they're terrible. The only thing I agree with them more right now is on AI because they've been more vocal about it. But even then, I don't necessarily trust them because their policies don't work as a whole. That might, make it worse. But I don't really agree with them. But you're giving them so much life right now, like Bernie Sanders, and this is where he's correct on. Apex spent $9 million to take out Representative Thomas Massie. Trump mega donors spent $7 million. It was the most ever spent on a House primary race, all because he defied Trump on Gaza and Epstein. No billionaire super PAC should be buying our election. One person, one vote. I agree. I mean, people are going to say elections are rigged, but should this be considered rigging elections? You're billionaires that have no ties. Who knows if this is coming from foreign influence, like probably in Israel somewhere, and special interests basically deciding the election for people. I mean, this is not good, people. George Soros nor Miriam Edelson should be buying elections. And hopefully this can be bipartisanship that, there should be no we need major campaign finance reform. Unfortunately, billionaires won't allow it. They're controller leaders. They know they're done if they lose any power. But this is the reality that has to happen. Because, I mean, let's face it, if with all this money they spent to oust Massie, you know how much money that these donors could have used to actually primary a Democrat? If it's about beating the left. But no, they used it to primary a Republican, just like they try to do with when they try to primary they try to was it Susan Murkowski out of was it Alaska? How the Senate spent millions to keep her seat rather than helping other candidates that were good win. It's not good, people. This is serious that needs to be talked about. So I don't know. I mean, I think this should also put the rest that Massie might try to run for president. I think it's going to be third party. But if he does run as a Republican, I don't think he has a chance. He has to build a coalition. And, I guess I like Massie because we don't want to cave to the left. But at the same time, what if he's the candidate that could unite the normie left and normie right together against the common threat, which is our ruling class? The deep state. I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about deep state. People who control intel for America First. There is an America First left, despite, I know it's overshadowed by the insane people, but they do exist. Unfortunately, the influencers are trying to stop a unity. They know, the deep state knows if the minute there's a common unity between normie left and right and left, America, it's over for them. So, I don't know. I don't know who's the candidate. I think this should also put the bet of Tucker Carlson even having a chance. Because, who's his coalition? He's going to have a harder time with traditional Republican voters because of what is said about them. So who's going to be the candidate? To me, Vance is probably the safest candidate right now because he ticks off the Israel First crowd, the ones who are completely obsessed with Israel, and he also upsets the Groyper, who are more anti-Israel. And so I think he's the safe bet right now. I really don't want Rubio. I think Rubio's if you think Trump's controlled, Rubio's definitely controlled. Rubio doesn't have what it takes to stand up to it. Just because he was a decent Secretary of State doesn't mean he has what it takes either. So I don't know. That's my thoughts on Massie. I do think it's disappointing, largely because it's dividing. And we're trying to win the midterms. I mean, this could tick a lot of people off where they want to protest vote and just stick it to Trump right now. How many Republican males might just vote Dem just to stick it to Trump right now? It just, I don't know. I don't understand what's happening going on right now. It's not good. So anyway, that's all I have to say. But right now I'm focused on Wisconsin, my state. We have to stop the radical left from taking over. But we're giving Trump and the GOP of their behavior right now is giving them so much ammo right now. It upsets me. We need to pray. That's all we need to do. If it's upsetting, we need to pray more. All I'm saying is be prepared for possibly a wipeout for the GOP right now because of this. And right now, I'm not seeing it change much right now. So anyway, if you like this video, please like. Let me know what you think. If you like this channel, please subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. The America First Pill channel, out.